What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Onochi. This is Engineering Cannabis. I'm your cannabis engineer, your informational weed man. And today's topic is algorithms. Over the past, since I've been on YouTube and every other social media platform, and also since I've also involved in a lot of data science and data analytics, all I've been hearing for the past couple of months or even years is algorithms. How to basically either beat the algorithm or how to basically sure you basically follow the guidelines of basically the algorithms. For YouTube, how can I make sure I follow the algorithm so I can basically push my videos to certain subscribers? So why is it important in terms of the cannabis space? In terms of the cannabis space, the algorithm is going to basically be important. It's basically, I believe now it's every company's actually using that term algorithm to basically pinpoint their customer itself. So as a cannabis industry, you will understand what you need to basically grasp what the algorithm is. So let's define what the algorithm is. For YouTube and all that, let's go with YouTube. YouTube looks at video and looks at basically gathers data first. So YouTube is a built-in process, a system. Then remember in my previous videos on how processes and system would work and how to design a process and a system, how to engineer. And quantification is one of the important parts, mostly the most important part of a process and system. And the quantification is basically taking data to tell a story. So YouTube utilizes data to basically see what are the most interesting parts of the videos that most of the population that watches YouTube are interested in. So it takes that data and builds an algorithm. And that algorithm takes variables of different aspects of videos and say, if videos contain certain variables and that are important to the population, then they can push that video to the population itself. So for instance, if the data collected states that, hey, to increase viewership for people who like these videos because they have maybe an attractive young lady involved, or the videos that contains basically traveling, or videos that have certain lights, certain cinematic viewership, certain cinematic backgrounds, or all that stuff, those variables, or maybe the thumbnail or something, or even the title. If all these variables basically come together, it contributes to a video that basically increases viewership in this. So what YouTube does is use those variables to build an algorithm, and that's basically a baseline algorithm. So when individuals like anybody who's in YouTube decides to publish a video, it goes into that video and see if that video contains certain variables that basically shows viewership. It takes those variables, and if those variables are satisfied, it then pushes that video. So what algorithm is basically is taking numerical data of your process and quantifying it, and then basically arranging it into an algorithm, and that's basically it. And also the good part of the algorithm, it's also an evolutionary algorithm. Means over time, it basically takes new data and basically evolves on what basically it evolves from age limit to what changes in the viewership. So it basically takes this new data and basically updates the algorithm every time. So it's basically data and you placing it into an algorithm and basically coming up with a formula to to define what's the best video that will give them the biggest viewership in there. And that's what an algorithm is. YouTube utilizes that to basically generate viewership. Uber uses that algorithm to do a lot of things from especially destination. So Uber, I believe Uber is one of the powerful. If I have access to the Uber network and the data set, that is a powerful tool, because Uber not only has Uber Eats that basically pinpoints what you eat and what you like to eat and all that. Also, it has Uber, the drive, that also looks at your location. So if I have the ability to know where you're located at and what you like to eat most of the time, I can go in and talk to restaurants and say, hey, these people love Chinese food and they don't like driving a long distance. So with that, hey, you can locate your Chinese food here in your Chinese restaurant just right here, and basically you will basically drive more business in there. So Uber, and that's just one part of it. Uber has so much data on customers, it's unbelievable. So why is that important? And even with the Uber itself, each individual with their phone is an algorithm itself. You are basically a mathematical formula. So each time you basically update what you eat or what you like to eat or how far you're going, your phone, your algorithm on your phone basically gets updated with new information. And with that new information, it gives you more and more precise information on what you probably will. Then with that information, I can generate what you mostly would like in the future. Generate a predictive algorithm to say, okay, she loves Chinese food at this point. Her taste, this is how her taste, basically his or her taste goes on throughout the year. I can predict next year how your taste in food will be, or if I have every variable that controls your system. So with Uber Eats and location, that's a powerful data set itself. And that's just Uber. You have Lyft and all the other. So why is this situation this term algorithm is important in the cannabis space? It's important because this is how, if you are a dispensary or you are a marketing agency, or if you are any type of cannabis business, your goal is to be able to predict how your customer, basically what your customer would like in the future, or what your customer would like anytime soon. Your goal is to gather enough information and utilize that information to basically satisfy your customer. So if you're in a dispensary and your goal is to say, okay, your customer has this ailment, or your customer doesn't have any ailment, but your customer needs to relax. These are the suggestive, based on your data set and based on your, you can basically come up with an algorithm saying, hey, based on your age, your sex, your different information from there, I can say, hey, this cannabis strain will work for you and at this dosage. So, and with that algorithm, you can also, that's why how powerful it is. And that's why I always suggest every company, every cannabis company should be a tech company. For instance, your cultivation, you can use an algorithm to predict, with enough information to predict your yield, if your yield cost, and based on information like your grow information from pH to temperature to your water rate to everything. With those information, you can then solely over time predict how your grow will happen, what your yield grow will, what your THC concentration is. With a lot of information like that, you can predictably draw up an algorithm on how your cultivation will look like. And each year you can also basically tweak those variables if you want to increase your yield, or you want to increase your reduce your concentration of THC more. with those algorithms, with those data set, you can surely predict and also change how your outcome of anything and anything you're cultivating is. That's how powerful it is. And if companies have realized the power of using such things, and from social media to your everyday uses, even now Chick-fil-A can have an algorithm set on Popeyes, and then it can have an algorithm set on different locations based on locations and see who will consume more of their product based on data set. And they have data scientists working with them. So this is how powerful not only data and tech is, it's how powerful data and tech drives now how we consume products, how we consume services. And that's what the cannabis industry is going to basically need as you go. Your goal, if you're designing a packaging company or a food packaging company, your goal is to make sure you have enough data sets, enough data to create an algorithm to know how your customer feels and know how to predict how your customer will feel based on new products and new services you might bring into the cannabis industry. So the algorithm, but the one part of the algorithm you should always know is an algorithm doesn't come out with us. An algorithm can't be formulated without a proper setup of a processing system. You have to have proper processing system. Then after that, you can create an algorithm. Without processes and systems designed already laid out, an algorithm can't be created. An algorithm is just an algorithm. But if you have a setup of a process, then you know how your business works. Then you know how your business works, your cannabis business works. Then after that, you take the data in there and you create an algorithm, a predictive algorithm, to know how your customer basically will react if you have different ideas or different products you want to introduce to the market. So that's the goal. Your goal is to basically be able to say, okay, with all these data I've been collecting for years on my customers, what they like, what they don't like, and also your processing systems, I can predictively say, hey, this product I'm coming out, this cannabis product I'm coming out, infused product I'm coming out, it will be accepted in the market. So the goal is, so that's what an algorithm is, it's a very powerful tool in business. So again, without proper processing systems established, and from there, using those processing systems to establish data sets and algorithms for your client, the thought of saying, hey, I can use an algorithm, it's useless. You have to have processes and systems set about. Again, one of the processing systems is quantification. Everything can be quantified. That's what I know that for a fact. Everything can be quantified. So if Coca-Cola can quantify how they produce their labels and do it consistently, everything can be quantified. So again, an algorithm, everybody's talking about algorithm. An algorithm is just a powerful tool to basically know your customer and predict what your customer likes. And an algorithm has different variables in there. So if you change or tweak one variable, you can see the outcome, what the possible outcome of that tweak what possible outcome might occur with that tweak in the variable itself. So for instance, if YouTube says, let's say if we change the algorithm, removing maybe an attractive Caucasian female to more of attractive African American female, what's the probable outcome of that? And the algorithm spits out probable outcome of that, and that's what it does, just to tweak and see what people might like at the end of the day. So And that, in terms of the cannabis industry, is going to be powerful in terms of what customers might like. Those infused products, infused drinks, and infused alcoholic beverage. Even you can even use that to show you how powerful it is. You can even use that in the predictive outcome of, like my last video, we talked of the laws that are coming out, the laws that came out recently. So with the Senate right now, it's in the House. Now, if with an algorithm that looks at voting patterns of certain Senate congressmen or Senate politicians in the Senate, if you can also look at their voting patterns for the past 2-3 years and basically come up with variables, you can also predict how likely they will vote against some of the bills from the Safe Banking Act to the MORE Act itself. You can see over time, you can see how these senators might be able to vote either for it or against it. If you can do that by just looking at, not by compiling all voting patterns of different senators, and then basically come up with an algorithm of, okay, what would they mostly likely vote for, the MORE Act or vote for the Safe Banking Act? What are the probability of getting that? You can come up with that scenario and quick and easy. So that's how powerful it is. It gives you insights on what you can change, and what when you change it, what are the possible outcomes. And that's what an algorithm is. And that's how powerful it can do in the cannabis space, in any space, but I'm focusing on the cannabis space itself. So this is Patrick Onochi. I'm a cannabis engineer, your informational weed man. And hey, today we talked about algorithms and the effect of algorithms in the cannabis space and in any space at all. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.